Alright guys, today I'm going to be analysing the physique of Miguel O'Hara or Spider-Man 2099 from the new Across the Spider-Verse film. I've had a lot of requests to do this guy, so clearly you guys want to see him. He has an amazing physique and we'll get into the analysis now. So this is probably the most clear picture of his physique. You can see straight away the very wide shoulders and the small waist. He has an amazing V-taper. He has really long clavicles, which are his collarbones, and that gives him super wide shoulders, but you can develop wide shoulders yourself by doing lateral raises, face pulls, things that target the side delts and the rear delts. That's really going to increase your width. Second most important thing, I think, is the size of his traps, the way they kind of slope down right from his ears all the way to his shoulders. Traps are super important for this physique, and his neck is very solid as well. And the other thing that stands out are his arms. He has thick upper arms and bulky forearms as well. His legs, you can see they're really not that big, and this serves to make his upper body look even bigger, like in comparison to his small legs. So this is a very upper body dominant physique, very wide and very powerful looking, like traps, shoulders, that kind of region. And his next picture again, you can see it's a similar angle, the wide shoulders, the big traps. And then a slightly different angle again, we can look at his legs, and they're not really small, but they're really not big either. Most important is the size of his traps, his shoulders, and his width. But this angle really shows us how thick his torso is, his upper back especially. Like you can see his spinal erectors bulging out of his back. The distance between like his spine and then the front of his torso is quite big. He has a really thick upper body as well as being wide. And then a similar angle, you can see more of like his arms here. So big arms, thick upper back, very wide shoulders. And then another shot from behind, you can see his front delt popping out in front of him. So the shoulders are very important, and his upper back looks really good here too. And you can see a bit of his triceps. And then another shot from the front, just very wide shoulders, kind of like a superhero kind of physique, you know, looking really strong, wide, powerful traps and neck. And he has a solid chest, but because of his costume, you can't really see it that well. And certainly like the width of the shoulders and his traps are much more important than the chest in this case. So it's solid, but it's not like a prominent feature. So the most important features then for this physique are going to be a really wide shoulders and back, big neck and traps, and then big arms and forearms. You need some serious back thickness, and then you want small waist and quite small legs to emphasize the size of that upper body. So I've made a program for this physique, and it's quite an advanced physique. So we're going to be doing 5 days a week of training and getting a lot of volume in for those important muscles that I mentioned a minute ago. And then for stuff like legs, they're not tiny, so we're just going to do the minimal volume to grow them a little bit. And then abs aren't really that important for this physique. He's pretty lean, but you don't really see his abs that much. So we're not doing any ab training, but you can add it in if you want to. So on Monday, starting with overhead press for the front delts. You can do these with dumbbells or a barbell. I prefer dumbbells personally. Shoulders are a super important part of this physique. Overhead press won't give you really wide shoulders, but it will make them bigger, especially the front delt. It will make them look rounder, and big shoulders give you a very powerful looking upper body. Next, weighted pull-ups. This is for the width of the back. So the V-taper basically consists of wide shoulders and wide back. So for the wide back, we're doing weighted pull-ups, targets your lats really well. And then lateral raises, so this is for the shoulder width. Hits your side delts, and then you can superset that with bent over lateral raises for the rear delts. People underestimate how important the rear delts are for looking wide. If you have big rear delts, that is really going to help you get wider shoulders. It's not just the side delts. And then after that, we will do some French press for the triceps. So he has pretty big arms, so triceps make up like 2/3 of the arm. So you really want to hit triceps quite hard. And then finishing off with Romanian deadlifts for the hamstrings and the glutes. So legs aren't really that important. This is going to be very good for your forearms and your back though. And we don't want to develop like muscle imbalances where we have, dangerously weak or small legs compared to other muscles in the body. Tuesday, barbell row, and this is going to be really good for building that thick back, especially the upper back. If you use a wider grip, that will target more of your upper back, and if you use a narrower grip, that will target more of your lats to give you back width. But rowing in general, any kind of row is really good for building the thickness of your back, and it will also build your back width. So don't think that weighted pull-ups only build width and rows only build thickness. They both build both, but they're slightly biased towards one or the other. And then after that is bench press for the chest, shoulders and triceps. I would suggest using quite a close grip because that's going to involve more shoulders and triceps, and his chest isn't as important. So you might want to use a closer grip if you really want the big arms and don't care about chest as much. And then trap bar shrugs. So the first real trap exercise directly targeting the traps, which are a super important part of this physique. I like to do strict shrugs up to like the target rep number, and then kind of cheat shrugs where you bend your legs and use a little bit of momentum, but you're still controlling it. You're not completely yanking the weight up and down. You want to just squeeze out a few more cheat reps after you've done your strict shrugs, and that will allow you to hit the muscle a bit harder while still getting in that quality full concentric, eccentric, strict contraction before your cheat shrugs. And then after that, barbell curls for the biceps. If you can get really strong at barbell curls, you're going to have big biceps. For the back of the arm, the triceps, we're doing some push downs. I personally like to use 2 ropes for this, so you put 2 ropes on the clip instead of just 1, and this allows you to extend further behind you, and reaching behind you like that targets more of the long head of the tricep. And then you finish off with neck curls and extensions. Then on Wednesday, dumbbell overhead press. So if you did barbell on Monday, definitely do dumbbell on this one. So you're kind of hitting 2 different angles. You're less stable in the dumbbell overhead press. So it's targeting a slightly different function of the front delt. And after that, chin-ups with just body weight, and you do 4 sets to failure. If you know that your failure is about 10 reps, then you could do like 4 sets of 8 or 9, close to failure. But if you don't know where failure is for you, then I would just go to failure on every set and ensure you're getting a really good stimulus for your back and your biceps. After that, then upright rows, which are a really good side delt exercise. Make sure you start with a very light weight, and if you feel any pain in your shoulders while you're doing this or your traps, lower the weight and focus on just getting really good form, nice and controlled. This is one exercise that you really don't want to ego lift on. And then reverse flies for your rear delts. I like to do these on a machine. And then squat 4 sets of 10. So this is going to be most of your quad stimulus in this workout. And finish off with wrist curls for your forearms, because he has pretty good forearms, not just his upper arms. And you're never going to maximize your forearm development unless you isolate them with like wrist curls, isometric things like dead hangs. You can use grippers, that kind of thing. So you want to isolate the forearms. Then on Thursday, you can take a rest day and then come back in on Friday, starting with dumbbell shrugs for your traps. So again, on Tuesday, hopefully you had a trap bar. If not, then you could just use a normal barbell. And then on Friday, you want to come in with dumbbell shrugs, and this is going to be a slightly different angle to what we did on Tuesday. And I like to do higher reps with dumbbells. And then just bodyweight push-ups, 3 sets to failure. Amazing for your chest, your triceps. After that, cable rows or any other kind of row if you don't have a cable machine. After the cable rows, cable lateral raises. So on Monday, I had you do dumbbell lateral raises. On Friday, you can do cable. So it's hitting the same muscle, but in like a slightly different way. And that prevents overuse injuries, like using the joints in the same way too much. That could inflame the tendons, give you overuse injuries. And then while you're at the cable station, you can also do face pulls for your rear delts. If you keep your shoulders depressed down, then that will target more of your rear delts. And if you shrug them up a bit more, that will target more of your traps. So whichever of those is more of a weak point for you, you can target that by either shrugging your shoulder blades up or depressing them down. After that, dumbbell curls for your biceps. I like to do them seated because it prevents cheating and swinging. And then you finish off with some leg curls for the hamstrings. And then on Saturday, weighted dip. If you have access to a dip station, this is for your chest, your shoulders and your triceps. I would try and stay upright to target more triceps instead of chest. So if you lean forward, that'll be more chest, and shoulders. If you're upright, that'll be more triceps. And then farmer walks, either with dumbbells or a trap bar, and you want to walk for about 30 seconds. So choose a weight that you can walk for about 30 seconds with and have it be a good challenge. So you couldn't go much longer than 30 seconds. And then loo raises, which is like a full range of motion lateral raise, involves all 3 heads of the shoulder muscle. It will move the shoulder joint through a full range of motion. If you prefer, then you could do just normal lateral raises. After that, then cable curls. Again, you could repeat like barbell curls or hammer curls if you wanted to. Hammer curls are really great for your forearm, but I'm just including a lot of like variations so you don't get overuse injuries, like using the elbow in the exact same angle over and over, After that, then leg extensions for your quads, and finishing off with neck curls and extensions. You might be wondering what kind of weights you should be using. So I would start with like just the bar or just some light dumbbells for all of these movements. And every week you just add the smallest amount of weight that you can. So add like 5 pounds to your bench press. So for example, if you're benching like 100 pounds for 4 sets of 10, then the next week you do 105 pounds. And then the next week 110 pounds. And you can keep going like that for maybe 6 months up to like 2 years. And eventually that will stop working. And then you'll have to reduce the weight by 10% to kind of deload your muscles and resensitize them to the weight. And that will allow you to progress a little bit further beyond where you plateaued previously. And eventually that will stop completely. And then you will have reached the intermediate stage and you have to use an intermediate program with more advanced progression schemes like periodization, which I can talk about in other videos, but for most of you watching, you'll be in the beginner stage, so you can make progress just linearly, adding weight every week. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really like this physique and I think this is a really good program. I would be tempted to hop on this program if I wasn't already currently running Candito's 6-week strength program, and I'll have a video out about that soon once I've run it a couple times. But so far it's looking really good. But anyway, thank you for watching. Check out the complete Toji and GAROU physique programs in the description. They will take away all the guesswork. I've got the programs completely laid out for you, whether you want to do them in the gym or at home, 3, 4, 5 days a week. I've got advice about diet and progression, recovery, all of that is in the program. So if you're interested, check the link in the description. Thank you for watching and I will see you in the next video.